Now, so we're just live. Hi everyone and welcome to the Shop Local campaign I'm doing at retailers in Galway for this week. So I'm joined by the lovely lady here who owns My Granny Likes It. And do you want to talk a little bit about your store and different things like that, I suppose? What brought you, what set you up, what brought you into setting up a business in Galway, the challenges you maybe had?
Yeah, well, I'm here now. We're here 9 years in this shop. This wasn't my first business. I did originally. I left art college, came to Galway for art college.
Yeah.
And graduated and set up a gallery out in Barna just before the recession kicked in. So it lasted about a year and a half, and then we closed up the doors. So then it took a little bit of time working for the people. But my family background would be in art and craft. Yeah. And my mum also has a shop up in Westport. So it'd be in the blood. And so then it started off with a pop-up and a kind of a desire to, one of the things we've noticed with the recession and an awful job loss, a lot of people had started trying to do something themselves. And you did see this upsurge in new work coming through with makers because they had time and they needed to do something. So they were having to go. So yeah, I worked with another friend of mine and we ran a few pop-ups. So that went on for about, I don't know, there was about 3 or 4 pop-ups, Christmas ones in the summer. We were kind of sharing and finding makers and sending them. He was up in Northern Ireland and swapping makers up and giving exposure. And then based on that, I kind of had learned an awful lot in those pop-ups about what to do and how to possibly run a business. Yeah. So then I took over the horns in 2013, took this unit and got it up and running by the skin of my teeth and got going. And the idea behind it was obviously then to have accessible contemporary Irish designer that you were seeing being made all around. So yeah, just went for it and we got ones in. And so yeah, we've been there just developing it ever since. And finding, I was saying I was worried we'd run out of makers, but there's always new makers and new designers and the makers making new designs all the time. So far, so good.
Amazing, yeah. And I can just see you've so many different Irish designers here in the store. And I suppose when you're choosing a designer to be ranged in your store, how do you, because obviously a hard decision to make, how do you make those decisions or how do you make those calls? Or is it predominantly if they're based locally or how is it, or is it the actual product itself?
Yeah, it would probably be the product itself.
Is
what I find what I attract to and what I think is a good example of something that we're doing. Like you're seeing some new work with be it ceramics or in the jewelry, and you're like, that's just really cool. It's a clever design or it's very well made. There'd be different kind of criteria. And also, I suppose, over time now, knowing what my client base is, what my customers would like, definitely at this point I am buying and I will know they'll love this or this person will love this. And it might only be for 1 or 2 people, but it's often I find if something's good, it's good. Yeah. And listening to my own voice about it probably would have been a bit more at the beginning where you were trying everything and but I've learned over time I really keep it quite focused onto what I actually like and can stand over and just think that's really great and that's really we've got funny things in the shop as well or anything that gives me a giggle or I just think it's really well made. We'll give that a go and get it out there.
Yeah, I can see there's a lot of, you touched on contemporary earlier, and you can see that. And we were looking at some of the pottery pieces. Yes. Yeah, it really falls into that category and some of the other ones. I suppose what has kind of been the challenges with COVID? I think we spoke earlier on. I suppose what pivots did you have to make when it kind of the pandemic hit? That looking back now, you can say, I'm really glad I made that I overcame that challenge or I implemented something that really worked well in my business and I've carried through now.
Well, one of the first things I say about COVID is we have been unbelievably lucky with the way our customers came to us and support us. I mean, they made a special effort to support the shop. And I can't express how thankful we are for that and the appreciation that ran down the line, not from just me, but the fact that, everyone that works here, but the makers themselves. Yeah. Because we were getting emails through, we had even for say the Christmas lockdown. We'd all put our orders in, especially the ceramic orders. They'd all go in August. The makers need to have them by then, so they'd have time to make all this work to get to us. And then the lockdowns were announced, and we were getting emails like, "Oh, look, we totally understand if you want to cancel that order." And this is when I say we; it's a one-person show. It's like one particular email, and I usually I'd done a massive order, and she was like, "I totally understand if you want to cancel. And I kind of remember sitting there going, feck it, go for it, like we'll do it. And it was brilliant to be able to tell her that, don't worry, the order's there, you make the work. I'm going to pay the bill and we're taking it in and we'll make it happen. And because of the customers that we have and because of the effort everyone made to make it that extra bit of effort to shop Irish and shop local, we were able to keep everything turning. And so like getting money to the makers, like get them keep going. So that was very much a big part of it. Being thankful for that. And we have, I appreciate we have been very lucky that we've been able to work right through the pandemic, even in lockdown, that we were behind the scenes. But for sure, the focus went on kind of online and having to be the things that we would do face to face with our customers and talk to them about the work. We were having to then find another way of channeling that. So getting on top of things like mailing lists and sending out newsletters about things and about makers, and informing our customer about that and giving them that option, and our social media and getting better at speaking to camera, still not mastered, still a fair bit of work to do there. But just giving that information that is part and parcel of the customer service that you would have got in the shop. Like we know about the makers, we know about the work, and that's part of what we offer. It's not just the product. So we worked really hard at that, and I'm so thankful. And we got time to solve an awful lot of problems that just never got round to doing. There's always some other thing to do. But because we had that time and it was quiet at certain periods, we got time to dig in to putting better systems in place and problem solving. So again, a lot of positives to be taken out for my shop really likes it anyway. And I do feel very lucky for that.
Yeah, amazing. And I loved a couple of points there that you touched on, that you went back, you looked at process, you looked at implementing things in your business, and that you looked at setting up a database, which I think is really important as well. And a lot of people don't need to do that. I think it's important to touch your customer even when they're not coming inside your store from an online perspective. And definitely talking about meeting the makers, because I think that's really special. But we're also telling people in a digital format. So that's a really great takeaway. I suppose what do you feel from a local perspective is going to be going forward? What do you think needs to happen going forward for your business to keep that momentum going?
Well, I feel like we've done an awful lot to manage where we are now. We have a plan, which we never had before. There is a little bit more yearly planning going on and what we want to achieve for the business. Like one of the things I've always been wanting to do is that because Galway is such a great city and there's always so much going on. And to come to Galway and get to do that, you want to give everyone, and it's something we've missed because we haven't had tourists. It's telling them, go eat here, go see this, you must go kick the wall, you must go jump off the tower. And we've had some really beautiful feedback from customers years later, emailing me and saying, one lady emailed there over COVID saying, I just looked up to see you here. She came to Ireland. I got her booked on a ferry for the Aran Islands. Happened to actually be on the same ferry with her. We all had a drink, came back. I told her to go kick the wall and jump off the top of it, that she had to do it, to jump off the diving board. She said, as a result of doing those things, she met different people, which then set her on a path to wishing her husband. And and she took the time, and it was years later, and she emailed me to go, I've always been meaning to tell you this story. So we really enjoy when people come in and you get to share about Galway. So part of the thing with the shop, I think we're doing grand in terms of the business and what we're finding. It'll be never ending what we can find, and there's some constant list of what I want in the shop. So that's not a problem, but I think people coming in, and obviously local as well, having conversations about what we have here, or giving heads up to information about the city and about products and about people and about the maker in the process. That's really where we want to kind of make sure that we're ticking that box and sharing it, because it's fun. It's good to have those conversations. We have a few laughs in the shop. So which is really great. Makes your day better.
It's really interesting because we were talking earlier, and what definitely came up with all of the amazing people you have arranged in your store is that you built a relationship with them, and that's the most fulfilling part of the job, is having been on a journey with them. But I'm listening to you now talking about customers and being on a journey with them and creating an experience. So it's really nice to hear that, because I think what makes a local business different and a bricks and mortar business compared to the Amazons of the world is that we're creating experiences that stay with people, and build an emotion and a connection with people. I think that connection is is needed now more than ever after we've come out of the pandemic. And I just think it's really nice to hear that. And that's the same messages I'm hearing off other local businesses, that, you know, we really want to be connected, and the connection is where we want to be. So it's really nice to hear that. If you had any, I suppose, tips or anything like that for a retailer that's maybe starting out, or that's maybe in a place right now where they're really struggling to keep their doors open, what tips or what advice would you give them?
Oh God, it's hard. Like, you always want to you got to get the bills paid. And you got to keep the doors open. I suppose we would find that you're doing your research and your products, and being very selective of what you can sell and who your customer is, and becoming aware of what they want to buy. Nearly, you know, that's their customers' needs and what their budget is. And are you catering for that? Are you, you know, is there something that you can offer them that is elsewhere? They're going to get elsewhere. That is there something that you can do without dropping any integrity within what you want to stock and what your message is, and being very clear, I suppose, on what your overall goal is. Like, we would have. Sometimes I can't articulate what it is. I'm still kind of, it's in my head, I'll know when I see it, kind of a thing. But that idea of what the whole place is together, when it's so you know, cohesively what we're saying we are and what we're selling, but also what we're providing. So in terms of, like, our training, in terms of that we know about our makers, so like knowing your product, and people do want to talk about. But the bottom line is, we sell stuff. We're no different than anyone else selling stuff, but what sets us apart in ways for us is that we're able to talk about the process. And so there's an awful lot more behind the scenes story of all the products we don't know, and about the makers, and sharing that with people. And people like knowing that. I like knowing that. You know, it's like knowing where, you know, where your meat came from, or you know, the cows to make the cheese. You know, when you know that kind of thing. And the same process with the products that we sell, that we have an understanding of what's going on, what's the story for the maker, and what they're doing, and the processes they go through to make the products, for this final presentation on the shop floor. You know, so I mean, it's hard. You gotta balance all of that out, but also, and then where you're based. You know, are you in the west of Ireland, or are you in, you know, Dublin City, where it's completely different? So knowing your market and knowing what you can do. And accessing, obviously, online, and working hard on your online, which is a whole other business. You know, it takes a whole. It's another job, basically. So it's that can be tricky and difficult, but it is important.
I think it's really interesting, because what you touched on there, and you said earlier that there is a completely different customer and clientele in Galway to what would be in possibly Westport, Mayo, and in Dublin, and it's a different consumer base. I think definitely a learning would be, a takeaway would be to know who that client is. That if you range something in Galway, it's not necessarily going to sell in Dublin or in Cork or in Mayo or wherever else. And definitely understanding who that is coming in the front door, and has their spending habits changed? Is your price point in line with what they're looking for? And being clear on what your message is. You're really clear on what your message is. You know, you're about the makers, about telling that story piece, and that's built into your business and the way you sell and talk to your customers, interact. Which I think is really super important as well, to understand that and have that knowledge. I just think it's I love hearing this. I love hearing all this stuff. I just think it's refreshing, but it's also it's what makes us buy local, because even from a sustainability perspective and from a carbon footprint, we're all looking to you know, to give back to our local community, and to also help these new upcoming designers really make it, you know, locally, and not give to these the Amazons of the world, different things like that, but to support them. So look, thank you so much for being here today, and thanks a million, and we'll all talk to you soon again. And please pop in, what's your handles on social media then? So you're on Instagram
and Facebook and Twitter. Twitter, not too exciting there. Facebook and Instagram, but it would be My Shop Granny Likes It.
My Shop Granny Likes It for both. So check it out if you haven't checked it out already. Amazing stock, and pop in. They're in Galway, so please pop in and visit them. Thank you.
Thank you.